Welcome back to From the Stands, everyone. This time we're joined by UFC welterweight Jason Witt, which we're very excited to have him on this morning. So thanks for joining us. So first of all, Jason, it's great to have you with us today. But how are you doing, mate? So aside from fighting, how are you doing navigating this crazy COVID world that we're in today?
Yeah, so Kansas City's really hasn't been like super crazy, like bad. There hasn't been a lot of shutdowns. We had some shutdowns the beginning of last year, like May, March, somewhere around then. But other than that, I mean, we don't have a mask mandate. So I live in Overland Park, Kansas, and just technically Johnson County. So I think around here it goes by counties, and they don't even have a mask mandate for us. So honestly, it hasn't been like super bad. I opened up a business last May, and that's run pretty well, even with COVID and everything. It's a small little gym, so it's worked out pretty well. Nothing crazy. Kind of hoping that it kind of stays that way.
Jason, back in July, you picked up your second UFC victory over a very experienced Brian Barberena in a fight of the night performance, which was, it really was an amazing fight. One of the best, all year contenders, really. What was the feeling like getting the victory over Barberena coming off the loss in March?
Man, it was just validating. It was honestly my best performance, like the best I've ever felt inside the cage against a seasoned veteran. And Barberena, I mean, he's fought top 5 guys. He's fought Luke. He's fought all kinds of people. You know what I mean? So it really just validated that I knew what I was capable of doing and what I could do in the cage, like the performance I could put in the cage. So it just kind of validated like what I knew I could do.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, Jason, it seems like the team down at Glory MMA is really developing a good core group of up-and-comers. We've also got some vets there, fighters like, Julian Marquez, Kevin Kroom, Grant Dawson. And you're obviously coached by the great vet, James Krause, who's, been around a bit and been in the UFC himself. So how has it benefited your career and your growth as a mixed martial artist, having a coach that is, being in those trenches, having a coach that understands what it's like to fight in the UFC? Have you found that's really helped you as a mixed martial artist?
Of course, man. That's been a major key, and I think all of our careers, mine, Grant's, Julian's, Kevin's. I think it's been a huge key in all of our victories. Not even in terms of fighting, but in terms of like the mindset we have in everyday life, or just how we deal with finances. He's very good with finance. He's good to deal with that. Good with those types of things too. But he's one of those coaches that leads by example. He told us at the beginning of COVID, he's like, hey, man, be ready because shit's going to start dropping out. And that's how I got in the UFC. That's how Kroom got in the UFC. And he's taking fights on 24 hours notice. He's taking fights on, 16-day notice. So he stays ready. He's one of those guys, he's in there every day with us, learning and training. And he's not one of those guys, he's not going to let you he's going to make sure that he's the top dog in the gym. You know what I mean? He's going to make sure he's not going to let any of these little punk little kids come up and beat him. So it really pushes us to like try harder, and it definitely pays dividends inside the gym.
Yeah. You did touch on it before about, opening the business and the gym. That was one of our questions, which is, open up Fit House Kansas City, which is, it's amazing to, open a business during COVID, especially. One of our questions was, how was it, and how have you found it running a business through COVID, and does it have any effect at all running a business, through your fight preparations?
Man, it was actually it's pretty easy. I mean, I know it sounds kind of weird, but with COVID, like all these main corporate gyms were kind of shut down, and mine's just a small little like little studio, and so a lot of people felt a lot more comfortable coming to the gym. And we still wear a mask at some point. At that point in time, we still wear a mask. So a lot of people felt really comfortable with being in a smaller gym and not having as many people run through it every single day. So it really benefited us to kind of have that instead of having some huge corporate gym. With my fight schedule, it really I became a personal trainer because I wanted to fight more. I wanted to train more, and I wanted to have my own schedule. And owning the gym, was already a part of that. So being a personal trainer kind of just made that way easier. So I planned my personal training schedule around my training camp or around my training schedule.
Yeah. Okay.
So Jason, being in the welterweight division, it's an interesting time, especially in that top 5, top 10. But even with up and comers, you've got Hamzat making his way up in the welterweight, and you've got fighters like yourself as well who are just ready to break through. So obviously, there's a dominant champion in Kamaru Usman who's starting to get to the rematch phase of his career, where he's fighting people that he's already beaten before. So how do you see the future of the welterweight division? Can you see some up and comers that could really take some of those top 5 spots, or do you think we're going to have, a dominant class of top 5 fighters that are going to kind of rule the welterweight division for a while?
And I really see Kamar's one of those guys that he's kind of, I don't want to say he's new, but he's kind of a young champion, and I don't see a lot of people beating him right now just because he's one of those guys who's really getting better. A lot of champions have they're champions at the end of their career, or they've worked to be a champion or something like that. People are beating because they're getting older a little bit, but Kamaru is pretty young in terms of his UFC career and stuff like that. And so I don't see a lot of people beating Kamaru. I don't see people out wrestling him. Maybe Hamzat Chimaev out wrestle him. I don't know. That's an interesting matchup. I'd like to see that. But I think Kamaru's going to kind of stay at the top for just a little bit longer. Top 5 is there's a lot of savages. It's a big weight class. You know what I mean? I don't mean in terms of size, but we have the power to put people away, but we also have the conditioning to run, 15, 25-minute rounds or 25 minutes, for 5 rounds. So it's a crazy division. I don't see a lot of people coming up. I think Burns had a great shot. I just think he kind of shot himself in the foot on that fight.
Mm-hmm. In speaking on Kamaru and that, in November we obviously have a big title fight for your division. Usman and Covington too. What are your thoughts going into that one, and who do you think takes it? And also, who do you see yourself between the two of those guys? Who do you see yourself matching up with the best?
Oh man, that was a great fight. The first fight was absolutely fantastic. Pretty close. A lot of people had Covington winning the fight up until the finish, and I thought obviously Usman did enough to pull it out. Man, that second fight. I don't know. That's such a hard one to fight because their style, like Covington's stylistic wrestling is really going to be hard to. You're not going to take down Usman. He's going to be hard to take down. It's going to take a lot of energy to take him down. So I think that's a lot why Covington didn't shoot a lot in the first round. Which every other fight you see with Covington, he's shooting, he's taking people down, he's doing what he wants to. Yeah, I'm still going to go with Usman on that one. I think his striking is a little bit better. I think he's a little more crisp, and I think his cardio is a little bit better.
Yeah. Well, Jason, in touching on your fighting career, over the years you've fought for, LFA, Bellator, Kansas City Fight Alliance. Have you found that the level of competition is better in the UFC, or do you believe there are top level elite good fighters everywhere in every organization? Because obviously the common argument people make is the UFC is the UFC. Every organization out of that is the minor leagues.
Yeah. Man, I'm not really sure because you got to look at Michael Chandler came over, and Michael Chandler was huge in Bellator and came over and demolished Dan Hooker, but also lost the championship of the world. I think everybody's good at this level. You know what I mean? I think I don't know how to really put that, but I thought Barberino was a great fighter. I thought it was a tough competition. I beat him. Man, I don't know how to really. I'd have to look at that a little further, but I think everybody at the top level, even the highest level of Bellator, could compete in the UFC, but I don't think the lower level Bellator can. But I think the UFC is the top notch for a reason. You know what I mean? It's definitely hard to reach the top level, and I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's gonna be the UFC is top level, and it's top level fighters. I realize I said 47 times in a row, but
no, you're good. Well, touching on other fighting organizations and stuff, I'm not sure. I thought I'd ask you first if you've had a chance to sort of see Ariel Helwani's post regarding the new fighting league that's possibly getting announced in the next few days.
Was it MLW or something? What's it called?
Yeah,
it's
I
called
think it's
WFL.
Yeah, I'll read you the quote in case you hadn't heard of it, but it's it's created by structured NBA, NHL, and NFL rather than a typical MMA promotion. It's 50-50 income participation and guaranteed contracts, medical insurance, and career insurance, pension plan, all that sort of stuff. What are your thoughts on a league like this being created, and how do you see is that something that you can see in the future being a pretty viable competitor to the UFC?
Honestly, I mean, we just heard about it. It just came out, a couple days ago?
Yeah.
I haven't done a lot of research on it. I haven't looked into it like too seriously. So I'm not really sure. The UFC has quite a bit of control of their fighters, but we're also independent contractors, so we kind of do what we want. So I don't know what's the freedom inside that. You know what I mean? Like most NFL contracts or most NBA contracts, you can't ride a motorcycle or something like that. Like I don't know I don't know how it works. You know what I mean? They have quite a bit of control of their players in terms of that. But I'd have to do more research to kind of see how that plays out, and understand more of how it actually works.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, and you just said it, which is obviously a lot of fighters or most fighters are independent contractors. And in a lot of today's combat sports, we're seeing a lot of fighters, compete in boxing, bare knuckle, jiu-jitsu tournaments, trying their hands in a lot of different things. So for yourself, could you ever see yourself competing in something like bare knuckle, ADCC, maybe some kickboxing? Or do you think for yourself, you just want to do MMA fights? Or could you see yourself down the line trying your hand at some other combat sports?
Yeah, I want no part of bare knuckle boxing, and not even.
Yeah.
My face has been beat up enough from MMA as it is. I don't want any more cuts. I'm missing teeth. I got cauliflower ear. Surprised my wife's still married to me. Bare knuckle boxing, no, I'm good on that. I've done a professional boxing match. I really enjoyed that. I've done a kickboxing match. I really enjoyed that too. I'd love to do like competition jiu-jitsu. I think it'd be fun, especially down the road. Like once I'm out of the UFC or kind of retired from MMA. But I think bare knuckle boxing is really good for a lot of people, and their styles kind of match up really well. Like Dakota Cochran, you guys know who he is.
Yeah.
I love a good MMA fighter. I lost to him. We don't need to talk about that. But yeah, man, like it really stylistic matches up really well for him. But it's just not. That's not something I went to my buddy Jason High just fought in bare knuckle boxing this weekend, and I was watching. I was like 2 rows back, and that. It just sounds terrible. It doesn't look.
Yeah, I remember listening to it once with the sound on pretty high, and you can just hear the impact of the punches. And every time I cringed. And I've seen some of the wars in MMA, but I cringed watching bare knuckle. It's hard for me to watch.
Yeah, you also got to understand, like, you're gonna break your hand. Like, no matter what, you're out 6 weeks with broken hands most of the time. Unless, like, Jason High finished the guy from a body shot in 53 seconds, which was but I think, man, it just sounds rough. It just it's a new sport too, so you don't have there's not a lot of. I don't want to say there's not a lot of. There's skill levels to it, but there's not a lot of skill. People are still like James Charles. People are still trying to figure out. You know what I mean? MMA in the early 2000s, you had people who were good, but they were still trying to figure out martial arts in terms of putting it all together. And this, it's like nobody else had really put it together really well just yet.
Before we get on to our next question, I just thought of something. Is speaking on boxing and all that sort of stuff. Obviously, the big persona at the moment would be Jake Paul, and I would like to get your thoughts because obviously, for me, a lot of people hate him, and I think that's why he's so successful because people want to see him lose. You know what I mean? So for you, what do you think of a guy like Jake Paul? And I mean, I think he's doing well with, giving, fighters bigger purses and stuff like that, like he did his last fight. But what are your thoughts on Jake Paul going forward and where do you see him going?
Man, I think he's a great marketer. He markets himself like perfectly. He knows what to say, when to say it, how to say it. He knows how to talk shit pretty well. And I think he's done a good job for fighters in terms of, hey, man, you guys aren't getting paid enough. This is what you should be getting paid. And I think he does a great job with that. I don't think he's fought a caliber of people that he should be to kind of get the recognition he's getting. You know what I mean? You're fighting Tyron Woodley, who throws 4 punches around. You know what I mean? Who's lost the past 3 fights, and just he's not getting the caliber that he needs to kind of get the recognition he needs. He's not beating people that that are in their prime. He's a young guy, but he's a fantastic marketer. I think he's really smart with what he's doing, making a lot of money. He's a decent boxer. He has good hands. I've seen quite a few of his videos. Has really good hands. Has really good power. But I still think he's a fucking douchebag. But people said this about Conor McGregor when he was coming up with the shit that he was saying. Like a lot of people that wanted to watch him lose. You tuned in to watch him lose. And you expected it. But I still like Conor McGregor. But I think he's a great marketer, but it's just kind of a thing about it.
I think there is a market for it.
The next question is, would I fight him? Absolutely.
Yeah, cool. But I think with Jake as well, I think it's getting to the point where he needs to fight a legitimate boxer who's, 4 or 5-0, young boxer coming up, has a background in boxing, as opposed to, MMA fighters who, obviously you train everything from MMA. You got the wrestling, jiu-jitsu, and it's kickboxing most of the time. It's not pure boxing sparring. Or even if it is pure boxing, it's usually Shudo. And I think Jake just needs to fight a legitimate young up-and-coming boxer, and that will show where he's at. I think that's just really important for him if he really wants to develop as a boxer.
Yeah, man. This talk about like fighting Anderson Silva, like Dana wants to fight. Like, come on, man. And what, 92?
Yeah.
I mean, Silva's one of the greatest fighters of all times, but like,
well over the hill.
This is that heartbreak again. You beat Anderson Silva, I'm gonna cry myself to sleep that night. Like you just can't have those types of fights. So I agree with you 100%. I think you just fight a younger boxer who knows what they're doing. Jorge Masvidal, like he's just talking shit on MMA fighters, just trying to get fights and get money, which is smart. But like Jorge Masvidal is not the best boxer in the UFC either. You know what I mean? I think good.
I think I think there's a market for it, but just the one we saw last weekend was really a bit too far for me. Was Evander Holyfield and Vitor Belfort. That was I can't believe that got sanctioned. In all honesty, it was really kind of sad to see. You know what I mean? I think there's a market for it. Like I said, with Jake Paul and fighting guys, people are interested in it. But Evander, I think that's kind of too far for me.
Yeah, he's 140 years old. He's been knocked out. He hasn't fought in forever. This would also kind of show young fighters and boxers and people that manage your money correctly, right? Because this doesn't last forever. Like I'm trying to make as much money as I can and get out. You know what I mean? I'm not Conor McGregor or something like that, but like you should understand that you have to have an outlet after fighting. Like why is Frank Mir still fighting? Why, you know what I mean? Why is Evander Holyfield fighting? Like, yeah, you're gonna make good money, but at what cost? You're fighting a roided out Vitor Belfort, who's also 91, against Evander Holyfield, who shouldn't even be in a cage or ring anytime soon.
Yeah. So, Jason, just one last question before we let you go today, and we had to ask, but we saw on your Instagram you announced some fight news potentially coming soon. Yeah. So we had to ask, but are there any hints on potential opponents or who put their name on the dotted line to face the Vanilla Gorilla?
I can't spoil the surprise, man.
Yeah.
I got all these surprises to you guys. It's close to my birthday. If you guys know what my birthday is, it's close to my birthday. So I got a little bit of time. But yeah, man, it's I'll give you a hint. He fought on the same card that I fought Barberina on.
Ooh, okay.
There we go. We'll take that. We'll take that soundbite.
I'll throw that in. Excited about the fight. I think it's we actually tried to match make this fight the night that I fought. Like Kraus wanted this fight, Julian Marquez wanted the fight. Like all my coaches wanted this fight, and we tried to make that fight happen that night. Not like physically happen, but you know what I mean. Yeah. Who you should fight next, and we're just fortunate enough that it did come together.
Awesome. Well, look, Jace, we really appreciate your time today, man. I mean, you give up time for us to talk to you. We really do appreciate it. So, look, we really look forward to your next fight, and hopefully, we'd love to chat to you again before that if that's a possibility with you, man. We'd love to do that.
Of course, you guys just let me know when. I'll be here. I appreciate it.
Easy. Well, you heard it here first, guys, from the Vanilla Gorilla. Jason, best of luck with your training. We'll talk to you soon, and have a good one, my friend.
All right, guys. I appreciate it so much. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, man.